This is Ball on Blast, part of the On Blast Podcast Network, available on iTunes, SoundCloud and YouTube. If you like it, then subscribe and tell your friends. Holla.
Thank you. Far too kind for tuning in once again to another thing we like to call the Ball on Blast Podcast. As always, my name is Sheldon Alexander, joined by my guy, Andrew Webster. Webby, what is good?
What's good? Sheldon Alexander, Kawhi Leonard is a member of the Toronto Raptors. What?
I don't even know. Last week's episode was called What a Time to Be Kawhi. This week's episode is definitely going to be Scared Money Don't Make None.
Scared Money Don't Make None. We talked about it last week. And
from Tribe Called Quest to Sam Presti
to Masai Ujiri.
Let's go.
Holy.
Wow. Even though we talked about this last week, right? I didn't think this was really going to happen. I thought, hey, if this was something that was on the table and you're Masai Ujiri, you do everything you can to make this happen.
Of course.
And he did.
We talked about the potential deals that they could put out there. We talked about how nice this would be for the franchise to prove to the league that you can pull in a star like this, one of the top 5 players in the NBA when healthy, and make the deal for him. Get that guy on your team. Something that we've never seen the Raptors do before. They just pulled off.
You're right, and it's crazy because, I woke up to the news. Actually, it was weird because I rolled over this morning at about 5:30, which I don't get up that early. I have an alarm. The first one, the first alarm goes off at 6 a.m. Then I grabbed my phone because I couldn't fall back asleep. And when I grabbed my phone, I had like 3 text messages from one of my diehard basketball group chats group text, that just said, the deal is done. And I'm like, what? And this was sent at like 5 a.m. And I'm like, hold on. What is happening right now? Open up Twitter and Masai the God does it once again. So it turns out Woj bombs, sham bombs everywhere. The Raptors pull off this deal. As mentioned, Adrian Wojnarowski was the first one on the balls. It says, Raptors had a deal. The Spurs agreed to trade Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green to Toronto for DeMar DeRozan, Jakob Poeltl, and a protected 2019 first-round pick. We later find out that protected 2019 first-round pick is protected from 1 to 20. So you mentioned, Webby, we talked last week about what potential deals could be in play. And what we heard was the rumblings centered around DeMar, Poeltl, and OG and a pick. There's no OG in this deal. What do you make of the trade? What was your initial thought of the trade?
I thought initially that the Raptors won it. Just because, like you say, that protected first-round pick is really big in that it's 1 to 20, so it's probably going to get used. It's not going to, roll over to the next year when that protection might get a little less. Then the Poeltl of Siakam and Poeltl, I like Siakam a little bit more, and then it's DeRozan and not Lowry. Listen, we love DeRozan on this podcast. We sing his praises. We think he's a great player. Probably the best Raptor of all time. I certainly think so. So to see him leave is definitely disappointing. But again, you're bringing in a top 5 player in the NBA to Toronto to play for the Raptors. Even though it may be 1 year, this is something that you pull the trigger on. I think if you're Toronto, pretty much every time.
What's the age-old rule about any trade? Anytime you get the best player in the deal, you won the trade. I don't really find, although there's one dude in my timeline that tried to tell me that DeMar was better than Kawhi.
Stop it.
I didn't even have to get him. Other people in my Twitter mentions got that dude and went at that dude hard. I didn't even have to get him.
The ratio on that tweet has got to be something to behold.
Oh, it was hilarious. But most people know that Kawhi Leonard is a level above DeMar DeRozan. And obviously we're talking about if healthy because that's what's going on right now, right? We know that obviously Kawhi Leonard's been dealing with injury issues for this past season. He didn't play that many games at all. But if healthy, we're talking about a top 5, maybe top 3 talent in the NBA. So anytime you can get that guy on your team, we talked about it last week, you have to make that trade. But It doesn't seem like all of Raptors land agrees with that, Webby. A lot of people are sad to see DeRozan go.
For sure.
Are you one of those people?
Well, I am sad to see DeRozan go, and I thought the better fit for the Raptors would have been to package Kyle for that deal. But listen, they're the Spurs, and I understand that they want to get the best return for Kawhi Leonard that they can. And honestly, from what I've been hearing, and I've been soaking up all of the articles, all the podcasts that have been out in just the, less than 24 hours since this happened, and those more well-connected than I am, because I'm connected to you. I guess that's about it, Shelly. But they say, from what I understand, is that the deals on the table that the Spurs wanted from other Kawhi suitors like Philly, like Boston, and like LA, they were asking far, far, far too much than any of those teams were willing to give up.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Like everyone, I feel like a lot of Raptor fans have been talking about the fact that they would have rather given up Kyle Lowry in a proposed deal, right? But here's the thing. The Raptors don't even want Kyle Lowry at $30 million a year. So why would you think the Spurs or some other team would want Kyle Lowry at $30 million a year, right? Like you can't really do that. That's the first problem. The second thing is people keep bringing up the fact that, the Spurs weren't getting these kind of offers from the Celtics, the Lakers, the Sixers. I think who had the article? Was it Zach Lowe or Woj? Someone had the article yesterday about basically the Celtics weren't putting Jaylen Brown in any offer. The Lakers weren't putting Brandon Ingram in any offer.
And the Sixers weren't. They wanted Simmons.
They wanted Simmons, but the Sixers weren't even going to put Markelle Fultz in any offer, right? And so you have a certain section of the Raptors fan base that's saying, well, if that's the case, why are we giving up DeMar DeRozan, right? Which on the surface kind of makes sense. But you got to take a deeper look at this, right? And realize that those teams are on the uptick. Those teams their stock price is going up right now. The Raptors are plateauing, if not going down. They're in completely different stages. If you're the Lakers, you can say, hey, I'm not giving up Brandon Ingram. You know why? Because they have LeBron. They're going to be okay. They're not really worried about where their franchise is going next year, the year after that, right? If you're the Sixers, you have Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. You don't need to give up Fultz or Saric or any of your other young key pieces to get Kawhi and take that chance. If you're the Celtics, you definitely don't need to take that risk because you still have Gordon Hayward, you still have Tatum.
But you have Tatum and you have Brown, guys who are young, guys who are not even hitting their prime yet. That's the difference between DeMar, Markelle Fultz, Jaylen Brown, and Brandon Ingram, is that DeMar DeRozan is basically like 10 years older than those guys.
Those teams and the situations that they're in, their cores, the cores of their franchises, the cores of their organization, that team is still on the uptick. They're like, they haven't plateaued yet, whereas the Raptors have. And I feel like this is the main purpose of this trade, that a lot of people, Raptors fans, a lot of the media stuff I saw today too, to me, the biggest thing from this trade isn't so much focused on Kawhi for DeMar. To me, the biggest statement made by Masai Ujiri here is that this era of Raptors basketball is over.
Yes.
Right? And that's what he's saying here. If Kawhi plays, great. That's gravy. We're going to give that a 1-year go. We're going to try to re-sign him. Maybe we change his mind and we get him to stay for extra years. He signs a long-term deal. If that happens, bonus. If he only plays the 1 year and they make a good run deep into the playoffs, cool. He leaves and goes to the Lakers, whatever. But the fact that they're getting rid of DeMar DeRozan is telling you that Masai Ujiri has seen enough of what this organization, what this organization can get to, led by DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. And that's not a knock. People take that as a negative, as if you're dissing DeMar DeRozan, or if you're saying, yo, you're done. You're a waste man's or something. And nobody's saying that, right? It just, you've plateaued. We've seen your good years. We've maxed out. They've lost 10 straight games to the same team in the NBA playoffs. It's time to go. No.
Now, here's the other thing, too. No, I agree with you, but you missed a big point, too, here. These aren't just the two outcomes. Either he leaves or he stays after a year. You're forgetting that Masai can deal Kawhi Leonard.
Exactly. Asset management is a huge part of this.
And say, like, into this season that a team in the Western Conference needs Kawhi Leonard and is willing to give up draft picks, give up young players to rent him for their stretch run. The Raptors don't care about shipping Kawhi back to the West, not like the Spurs did. They'd be more than willing to part with Kawhi to get some stuff back for the future because, like you say, Masai sees the long game here. And the long game isn't DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. The long game is building up assets for the future so you don't go into a tank mode. We talk about rebuilding on the fly. And this Kawhi Leonard move might seem to the short-sighted that this is a one-year fix to replace DeMar with Kawhi Leonard, but that's not the case. This is bringing in assets so maybe you can turn it into something else if you can't convince Kawhi to stay or, if you find a willing suitor.
Exactly. And again, I want to make sure the focus remains on, hey, if Kawhi stays, cool. But this is asset management, and you're trading a better player, like you're getting the better player in Kawhi Leonard. And even if you say it's only 1 year of Kawhi, what were you going to do with the 2 more years of DeMar DeRozan? The 2 more years and an option, right? I'm pretty sure he had 2 more years and a player option on his deal. What were you doing with those next 2 years? We've already seen this story. It wasn't that long ago that we watched the Raptors flame out in the playoffs yet again. Like, we watched this story happen. And to be honest, if you paid attention to this podcast, I think we told you last year that this team already plateaued, right?
Yeah.
And it's a good run. It was the best run that the Raptors have ever had in the history of their franchise. DeMar DeRozan might go down as the best player to ever put on a Raptors uniform. This era of Raptors basketball is the best era we've ever seen. But, hey, there's an expiry date. The time's up. And if you hold on to DeMar DeRozan, let's just say, right? He's turning 29 in August, okay?
Yeah.
So 2 years plus a player option. That puts him at 32 years old.
Yep.
Okay. At that point, are you going to try to be re-signing DeMar DeRozan for, let's say, $35 to $40 million a year?
No. And every year that goes by, in those 2 years plus a year of or a team option, like you said, his trade value is going to go down.
For sure.
His trade value will never be as high as it was today when they traded him for fucking Kawhi Leonard.
Exactly. And that's a part I don't understand. And I know that we shouldn't gauge things off of Twitter. We shouldn't gauge things like that. But a lot of feedback. My Twitter mentions are fuego fire with Raptors fans that are upset about this trade. And the thing that I really don't understand is, did we forget about the NBA playoffs? Because I didn't forget about the NBA playoffs. Like, we just watched the NBA playoffs in which the Toronto Raptors were absolutely embarrassed. I don't know about you, Webby, but LeBronto hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
That really hurt my feelings watching this team. And remember, I was the one saying I don't think the Raptors can beat the Cavs. I didn't think that they could beat them heading into this playoffs. I didn't expect them to get embarrassed like that. And so if you're looking at that team and you're now seeing multiple playoff runs in a row where you flamed out in the playoffs and you're led by Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, if you're Masai Ujiri, how many times can you keep rerunning that exact same thing? Especially when last year was supposed to be the year. So all these Raptors fans told me last year was a year, no?
So here's the big difference, obviously, that, to play devil's advocate, that a lot of the people would say is that, hey, LeBron's not in the East anymore. But you know what? The other teams in the East are starting to come up with their young players and are starting to retool themselves. Look at Indiana. They got better. Boston's going to get better with the return of Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. With the Sixers, you've got another year of Embiid, Saric, Simmons. Okay, they haven't made I want to talk about the Sixers later, but a lot of teams in the East have upgraded. So you could be the Raptors and try to be stagnant and roll back the thing that got you some success, the last few years. But Masai's smarter than that. You can't stay stagnant. Like a shark doesn't stop swimming, man. You got to always be looking to make your team better, not for now, but for the future as well.
You're totally right, Webby. And the thing, again, is I tried to tell you, right? This run was over last year.
Yeah.
Everyone was just fooled by the regular season. A regular season that I'll remind you.
Atlanta Hawks did.
But here's the thing. I feel like the Raptors overachieved last season, but their success was driven a lot more by their depth, their new offense, and their bench. How many games did we talk about last year in which DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry didn't even have to check back in because the bench mob ran the other team off the court? Right? And that's not to say that DeMar and Kyle aren't good or they weren't good last year. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we saw so much of their success come from their depth last year. And so if you remove DeMar DeRozan from that equation and you replace that with Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green, who is another key pickup, because this offense is supposed to be built around three-point shooting, and the Raptors didn't have that much three-point shooting that last year. You just added two more pretty good three-point shooters to your new offense. This, not to mention great defenders. I just don't understand how people are upset with this deal.
Listen, we talked about the bench all year, and the one thing that we said about this bench is that this is going to be great as these kids get older. DeMar and Kyle start to get over. This is your team. This is the future of your team. Now it's come a little bit sooner because obviously Masai thinks that these kids are ready to really put their skills out there and no longer be a bench mob, but be a mob.
For sure, and I feel like there's two sides to this, right? And both things should be allowed. We're allowed to say, hey, salute DeMar DeRozan on a great career, everything he did for the city, the fact that he was the first superstar to stay and re-up with the team multiple times. I give him mad props for that. But we're also allowed to say, hey, you can get Kawhi Leonard on a 1-year deal and say, hey, chips in the table, let's go. Both of those things are allowed to exist in the same universe, right? And we saw what the max of DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry was. We watched it. We saw it multiple years in a row. They lost 10 straight games to the Cavs in the playoffs. And you might say, oh, well, that's just LeBron. They won't have to play LeBron, whatever. That LeBron team almost lost to who? Who did they play first? The Pacers?
Yeah.
So are we supposed to just think the Raptors would have just blown out the Pacers in the playoffs? Are we supposed
Probably
to believe
not.
the Raptors would have just blown out that Celtics team last year in the playoffs that slowed down LeBron? Is that what I'm supposed to believe, Webby? I just can't see it, right? I got to go by results of what actually happened. And what actually happened last year is I watched LeBron last year, who had the weakest Cavs team he probably had in his entire career, almost lose to every other team but the Raptors in the Eastern Conference.
No,
not only did they beat the Raptors, they embarrassed the Raptors.
Listen, you're absolutely right. They put the fast forward button on this rebuild, and because they again saw the chance to trade for Kawhi Leonard, right? So that's what you got to do. But my thing that I want to talk about is optics.
Okay.
All right, because DeMar DeRozan wasn't happy. The team
that he got traded.
The team told him, I guess, a couple of weeks ago when these rumors first started circulating that he wasn't going to get moved. Cut to today, he gets moved, goes on Instagram, posts some stuff about not being happy with the team.
I got them here. You want me to read them?
Yeah, hit me with them.
So DeMar posted on Instagram. He said, "Be told one thing and outcome another. Can't trust him. Ain't no loyalty in this game. Sell you out quick for a little bit of nothing. Soon you'll understand. Don't disturb."
Not only that, but then our boy Lou Williams, when the news came out, when Woj tweeted, he tweeted, they snaked him like that. Yes. So my question is to you, Shelley, is that we think that this is a good move for the franchise of the Raptors. It shows that they can make these big moves, try to lure in a long-term signing, which I'm sure Masai is going to sell the hell out of Toronto and the Raptors to Kawhi.
Yep.
But my question is now for other people who might be looking at this franchise as a possible destination, does the way that they treated DeRozan, do you think that's going to affect anybody in the future looking at the Raptors?
No, because I think the thing that's becoming more and more apparent with every NBA offseason is that both sides, both players and teams, are learning that they're going to do what's best for them in the situation. And so you can say, oh, the Raptors weren't loyal to DeMar DeRozan, whatever that means. But at the end of and I'm saying whatever that means because we don't know what the conversations were that they had. We're going off DeMar DeRozan's word right now that they told him they weren't going to trade him, and then they did. Which, let's paint a scenario here, Webby, and tell me if this makes sense. We know that Woj came out and said that Windhorst came out and said the deal almost fell through a couple days ago, right? Like talks almost broke off completely, and the deal was done a couple days ago. So who's to say that at the time when they first talked to DeRozan and the Spurs pitched the deal, and let's say the deal was, whatever, something crazy, DeRozan and OG and Siakam and 2 first-round picks, whatever it was. Let's say it was something crazy. And at that time, the Spurs are like, no, that's our offer. And at that point, the Raptors are like, no, they offered us something, but we're not trading you. Right?
Right.
Let's say that happened. And now a few days later, the Spurs come back, realizing that it didn't up the offer from the Lakers. It didn't up the offer from the Sixers or any of the other teams you're negotiating with. So now they come back to the Raptors and they say, you know what? The best thing we're going to get, because we want to maintain. We don't want to get a young player. And if you're offering us an all-star, we'll take the all-star and then give us just one young piece and a pick. And if you're the Raptors, you're looking at that and you're saying, okay, so I'm going to get a top 5 talent in the NBA for one season. So essentially I'm going to lose a season of having DeMar DeRozan as the leader of my team, which I've already seen what that's capable of. Now you're in a tough position if you're Masai Ujiri. Yeah, you might have told DeRozan, hey, this is what's on the table, but we're not going to do it. But now things changed. The offer changed. Are you not allowed as the Raptors to then now say, hey, we're going to make this deal? Of course you're allowed to make that deal. Like, what are we talking about here? Right? And that's the part I don't understand with Raptors fans. Like, you don't want to see DeMar DeRozan go because he decided to stay, so you're supposed to hold on to him for his entire career? Like, do we forget that with the season on the line, it wasn't that long ago. It was, 2 months ago? Season on the line, Game 3 against the Cavs. Your boy DeMar DeRozan had 8 points.
Yeah.
Where were his Instagram posts there about prove him? The next game, in Game 4, DeMar DeRozan hard fouled and got ejected and had 13 points in Game 4 when the Raptors got blown out and embarrassed in Game 4. Like, did we forget about all these things? And now you're mad because the Raptors are trading for a finals MVP top 3 talent in the NBA, a 2-time defensive player of the year. Like, come on, guys. What are we really talking about here? Have better expectations for what you want your organization to be. Because if you're cool with just winning in the first round and maybe winning the second round, cool. Keep DeMar DeRozan for the whole franchise or for the entirety of his career. Run back Kyle Lowry, bring back Serge, and hope that your bench guys improve. Cool. Take that chance.
Right.
Or do what Masai did.
Yeah.
I'm riding with Masai.
Yeah, I am too. I think this is a good play for the Raptors. I really do. I honestly think that it's the smartest move to trade him halfway through the season, whether he loves Toronto or not.
Kawhi.
Yeah,
I can see that. I could definitely see that. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if, hey, they make this trade for Kawhi and then tomorrow they trade him to the Lakers, right? For, let's say, I don't know, maybe they just take Ingram and 2 picks. Who knows?
Holy shit.
Right? Like,
if the Raptors could get Brandon Ingram and 2 first-round picks from the Lakers for Kawhi Leonard, I'd make that move right away.
But this is what I'm saying, right? It's asset management. And so at the end of the day, you maxed out what you were getting with DeMar DeRozan. So you can be sentimental, but you know what? You can take your sentimental feelings and enjoy second-round exits in the playoffs. If you're cool with being mediocre, I'm always going to be for swinging for the fences. And remove my love for Russell Westbrook and all that stuff and remove that out of OKC, right? The fact that they had the balls to say, yo, we're going to trade for Paul George and we're going to bet on our franchise and bet on our organization, I'll take that move 10 times out of 10 times, even though that didn't work out, right? Like their season last year, most people would call a disappointment, right? I think if you ask them, would you do it? And I know Paul George stayed, but let's remove that for a second. Right?
I was going to say, because I would say that it's a success in that they got to keep Paul George.
But I'm saying even if they didn't keep Paul George, you take that swing and you do that over again every single time.
Absolutely.
Of course you do that. And so I get that, hey, DeMar DeRozan is your franchise guy and he's the best player you ever had, but have better expectations for what you want your franchise to be. Accept what DeMar DeRozan did, but know that there's another level to get to. And if you're actually serious, Raptors fans, if you're really serious about wanting to win a championship and wanting to be a championship contending team, you accept trading DeMar for a better player.
Now, my other question is, how do you think DeMar is going to do as a Spur?
I mean, two things. I think DeMar DeRozan won't be an all-star ever again in his career, playing in the Western Conference.
Ooh.
And I know that might sound harsh, but let's just break down the Western Conference all-stars from last year, right? You got Russell Westbrook. Is DeMar DeRozan better than Russell Westbrook?
No.
Staying in the West, is DeMar DeRozan better than Paul George?
No.
No, he is not. Let's see. Is DeMar DeRozan better than James Harden?
No.
Steph Curry?
No.
Klay Thompson?
No.
Dame Lillard?
No.
And Jimmy Butler?
No.
So,
although that one might be close.
Cool.
Depending on how good the Spurs are.
Cool. Depending on how good the Spurs are. My whole thing though is that, like, you got to look at this and think, so DeMar DeRozan's going to a Spurs team that demands you to play defense. Like, people forget. It wasn't that, like, DeMar DeRozan got benched last year in the playoffs, and it wasn't just solely for how poorly he was playing offensively.
Right.
Like, Dwayne Casey was able to accept DeMar DeRozan's inefficiencies at the defensive end as long as he was scoring. But if you're not scoring and not playing defense, come on.
Here's what I'll say. Yo, listen, Tony Parker was made into a passable defender.
For sure.
On the Spurs.
I'll give you
that.
So
I think that it's a lot of a system. And I think that I think DeMar's still got a lot to learn, not only defensively, but they have that great three-point shot doctor in San Antonio.
True. That is true. That is a thing. But
I think that he's in a really good position to thrive with his game and where he's taken it in the last 5 years. I honestly would say that DeMar's game is probably best suited to go to the Spurs.
This is where I'm going to remind you that the Spurs' three best players are DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Rudy Gay.
Pau Gasol.
Okay, Pau. Like, I mean,
I put Pau Gasol above. Pau Gasol had an awesome year last year, and LaMarcus Aldridge is an all-star.
All I'm saying is, Pop is a G, and the overall system of the Spurs will definitely help DeMar DeRozan a lot. Definitely,
they have two All-NBA players on their team.
That is a fact. That is a fact. But I'm here to remind everyone that, hey, DeMar DeRozan, I know, was an All-NBA second team last year, and he finished, 8th in MVP voting? I think that's what it was.
Yep.
But this is what I've been saying for this entire Raptors run. Yes, Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan are the frontliners, and they get all the headlines. They get all the pub. But let's be serious. The success of the Raptors has been built from the depth of their organization the entire time. So, yeah, DeMar DeRozan led the team in scoring last year. DeMar DeRozan had a season high or a career high in assists last year. But the success of DeMar DeRozan, and more importantly, the success of the Raptors, was more from the depth of their team that was built. More so than DeMar DeRozan actually being that top-tier all-star. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes, but here's what I'll say, Shelly, is that I think that you're discounting what DeMar DeRozan has turned his game into the last 4 years. I really think that his evolution as a player is a steady upstream. And there's nothing that he's done in the throughout his whole career that would say that that's going to stop. I understand that his deficiencies in the playoffs, I understand that his implosions in the postseason are definitely something that's got to be taken into account. But this is somebody who gets better every year. And now you're putting him into a system where growth and evolution of your play is something that they put a lot of emphasis on. And I'm here to say that I think DeMar DeRozan is only going to get better.
I mean, hey, I can't argue with that point. Yes, DeMar DeRozan has improved every single year that he's been in the NBA. I can't deny that fact. That is undoubtedly true. What I'm here to remind you, though, is we've watched DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry cower in the biggest moments that this organization has had in the
That's
playoffs
fine.
in each of the last 3 seasons to LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers.
That's
but
fine.
In the biggest moments, he's cowered. Meanwhile, we're talking about a Kawhi Leonard who is A, younger than DeMar DeRozan, and B, someone who's gone toe-to-toe with LeBron James at the highest stage of the NBA.
But listen, DeMar DeRozan's going to a franchise that's predicated on postseason success.
Sure.
He's not stepping into a team that hasn't been there before. He's going to have veterans and coaching staff and front office that has this kind of experience. And who's to say that, like, listen, I don't think that every part of the Raptors' playoff failures can be placed squarely on the shoulders of only DeMar DeRozan. I can't say that. I don't think he's got that kind of stink on him. And going to a Spurs team that, listen, is still very good and is coached by the best coach in the league, I'm going to put my money on DeMar DeRozan thriving in this situation, thriving in the system, and thriving under the tutelage of the great Greg Popovich.
Here's the thing, though, right? And, like, I'm just here to remind people of exactly how things have gone on for the Toronto Raptors each and every year in this, like, continued success that they've had, right? So as Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan improved into the leaders of this team, remember, there was a little, let's say, friction between the bench mob of Lou Will and Grievous Vasquez, right?
Right.
Kyle and DeMar weren't really jiving with those guys. Those guys came off the bench and they were getting buckets. Kyle and DeMar might not have been as comfortable as that because they wanted it to be their team. So what happened? Lou Will, see ya, wasn't even offered a contract.
Grievous Vasquez not in the league anymore.
Traded. Cool. I'm not saying that those are bad moves. I'm just saying these are moves that were done to benefit Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan. Everything the Raptors have done was to put those guys in a better position to succeed. They changed their offense and made DeMar more of a passer, more of a facilitator. They forced him into shooting more three-point shots. Remember, that was something the Raptors went to him and said, hey, this is what we want you to do. They've done everything to help DeMar DeRozan and make him into a better player. And all that culminated in last season, which was supposed to be the one last hurrah.
They won a franchise high. They won 60 games, Shelley.
But what does that mean come playoff time?
I agree, but it's still he put all of that into practice. It's not like he refused to shoot threes. He did the work, man.
Webby.
Listen,
who's your guy? Who's your guy?
Listen,
is Meek Millie not your guy?
I understand the playoff.
Do we not say it every single day? Every single week we do this podcast, do we not say it each and every week?
Yes.
There's levels to this shit.
Yeah.
And Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan are at one level. Kawhi Leonard is at a different level. We've already seen it. He went toe-to-toe with LeBron. These guys were talking about, well, if we had LeBron, maybe we would have won too.
I completely understand what you're saying. I really do. But to discount what DeMar DeRozan can bring to the San Antonio Spurs, to think that this is where his career ends as just another piece on the Spurs, I think is crazy. I think is nuts.
No. I think
he's going to have. I think that his trajectory is going to continue to go up, and I think that the Spurs are going to get things out of DeMar DeRozan that we as Raptor fans haven't seen before.
I honestly think, Webby, that from both sides, I think this trade makes sense for both sides. I think if you were the Spurs, Popovich is going to retire soon, right? Like the thought process is after the Olympics, he's probably going to stop coaching, right?
Right.
And so in these last few years that he has in coaching the Spurs, he's not here trying to rebuild. He's not here trying to make a trade and get just draft picks and maybe Brandon Ingram can be an all-star or maybe Markelle Fultz can be an all-star. No. He wanted something that was proven. DeMar DeRozan is a proven all-star. He's a proven top 20 player in the NBA. If not a top 15, maybe. I'll have that argument with you. I'll debate that with you. Cool. But I think that this trade does make sense from the Spurs standpoint because they wanted to remain at the same level. They didn't want to take a step down and think, well, if this guy lives up to his potential or whatever. So I think this is a good deal for the San Antonio Spurs. I'm not throwing shade at DeMar DeRozan. I'm throwing shade at the people who are the Raptors fans, and I'm just left being like, hold on, Raptors fans, pick a side. You can't have it both ways, right? You're either down with the culture reset in terms of, hey, we're tired of not just losing in the playoffs, getting embarrassed in the playoffs, right? We're tired of this. We need to make wholesale changes. And then when you make the wholesale changes and get rid of your coach, people are mad. Now that you get rid of DeMar, people are still mad. Well, why did you get rid of your coach for bringing an assistant? People are still mad. Why did you get rid of DeMar but only get Kawhi for 1 year? It's like, what do people want?
Right.
You're not going to trade Kyle Lowry for Kawhi Leonard. That doesn't work. This is not NBA 2K.
Yeah, you can't override the trade, right?
I'm just confused. What will make Raptors fans happy? That's what I want to know. What are your thoughts, Webby? What will make Raptors fans happy?
Beating LeBron?
What did they want from this?
Beating LeBron?
Beating LeBron. I'm going to read a couple comments here, man. People are mad because they say, first off, Kawhi's gone after the year. Does that bother you, Webby?
Hopefully Kawhi's gone halfway through the year so you get something back from him.
So you're with me in the sense that, hey, Kawhi is an asset, and even if you get this asset and let's say he walks in the offseason and the Raptors have a good year, let's say they win 2 rounds, let's say they make the conference finals and lose, and then Kawhi leaves, you're okay with that?
Yeah, I think making the conference finals and Kawhi thriving with the Raptors and, being healthy for the entire year and putting up Kawhi-like numbers and taking them into the conference finals, I think that's success. I think the only failure for Raptors is if he doesn't play a game and then leaves at the end and you miss, you get nothing out of Kawhi and, you're out in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, Zach Lowe put it out today, right? And he basically said that, even if Kawhi comes, like there's a lot of things in the CBA in terms of Kawhi Leonard would be risking fines for each practice and game missed starting in the preseason unless he can prove a legitimate medical reason. Obviously, they're doing a physical. This trade is still pending a physical, I'm pretty sure, right? And so if he passes the physical, he's going to show up and play games. There's no way you can take 2 years off from the NBA and then still think that the Lakers are going to give you a max contract next summer when, remember, there's a lot of guys available next year, right? Yeah. So who's to say that if Kawhi doesn't show out this year, that the Lakers don't turn around and say, well, why are we going to give the max to Kawhi Leonard when we can give the max to Klay Thompson?
Jimmy Butler,
right? Like, there's other options out there. Kawhi does have something to prove in this. Like, this is a contract year for him. He does have something to prove, no?
That's funny. And already, so I mean, somebody's obviously been in his ear because it leaked out that I guess he wasn't happy about being traded to the Raptors. And now it says that he's warming to the idea of playing in Toronto. And I mean, if he's smart and he wants to get the most value for his skills, whether it's in LA or elsewhere, I think he does have something to prove on the court.
You're totally right. Yeah, what you're referring to is Adrian Wojnarowski was on ESPN SportsCenter at 6 o'clock, and he said the Raptors and Kawhi's camp has already been in contact and that he's already warming to the idea of going to the Raptors because obviously they're a team that will contend for the Eastern Conference crown. They're a good team, a good organization. He is healthy, and he does plan to show up and play for the team. And so if that's the case, I don't know what anybody's mad at because at the end of the day, you're trading a year and a player option of DeMar for 1 year of a healthy Kawhi Leonard. Let's go, man.
Yeah, man.
Let's go. I'm happy DeMar was loyal. I really am. And he was the first star to stay. That's all true. Again, there's levels. And Raptors fans, what was I been saying from last season all the way through to the playoffs? Have better expectations for what you want for your organization. DeMar was good, but not great. Masai is taking a swing and trying to be great. I am not mad at that.
Hold on. I gotta. DeMar was great.
What? When? What?
DeMar DeRozan, it wasn't just great. He's the greatest Raptor ever.
Yo, Vince was putting up 50 spots going back to back.
Come on, man. Vince never got to the conference finals.
Vince didn't get to the conference finals because he was playing with Alvin Williams and JYD.
Man, DeMar DeRozan put this team on his back for years, got this team into the playoffs as far as they've ever gone. He's got them the most wins in franchise history. He's the greatest. He's not just great, he's the greatest Raptor.
Webby, you got me here shaking my head, Webby.
No, man, to say that DeMar wasn't, you're crazy. This is revisionist history here.
No.
Yes, man.
I'll let you finish.
Listen, I understand the playoff implosions, man. I really do. And that's a big part of how he's going to be judged. But to say that DeMar DeRozan wasn't great for this franchise is revisionist history, man.
I'm saying there's levels. And if we go back to what really happened the year, even they made the conference finals, the Toronto Raptors almost lost in that first round series to the Indiana Pacers. If not for Norm Powell coming off the bench in Game 5, they won those first two series on the way to the conference finals in spite of Lowry and DeRozan being their worst players on.
You are looking at history through anti-DeRozan colored glasses here.
I'm going to go back and bring up the numbers. Lowry and DeRozan, they are so lucky that the team and the way the team was built.
You just said they almost lost in the first round.
It's true.
They won.
Yeah, but it wasn't because of DeMar.
Partly. It's a team game, bro.
Yeah, and luckily Norm Powell came off the bench against Indiana and gave them a spark in Game 5 when they were about to lose.
Gave them a spark, but it's DeMar DeRozan who's starting and finishing every one of these games.
I don't know, man. I remember a lot of Lowry and DeRozan.
You just said DeRozan was good, not great. Listen, I can't sit here and let you get away with that. That's crazy.
I'm bringing up DeMar DeRozan's playoff numbers right now. And
go for it.
I'm definitely going for it. It's not 2015, 2016, DeMar DeRozan shot 39%. Then he shot 43%, 43%. That's solid. Not going to be mad at that. But his scoring average is only 22 points a game.
Only 22 points a game? What are you talking?
Hold on.
He's not averaging 12 points a game here, Sheldon. He's over 20 points a game in the playoffs.
Yeah, but those are lower than his regular season averages. If you're a superstar in the NBA, your scoring averages are supposed to go up in the playoffs. They're not supposed to go down. DeMar DeRozan's scoring averages went down in the playoffs.
I didn't say that he was a superstar. 100%.
Okay.
100%. Okay. He's not a LeBron James, okay?
We're playing the semantics game now, listen, I love it.
Listen, superstar that's there for just the cream of the crop, okay?
Superstar is what I'm saying between the difference between good and great. And I know that the bar, it's a tough line because it's so close, but these are the stakes when we're talking about the difference between good and great. And if you're DeMar DeRozan and your scoring average goes down each and every year in the playoffs,
still over 20 points a game.
I can't call you great.
Still over 20 points a game.
I mean, again, hey, say what we want about Paul Pierce being a hater. Paul Pierce had all the right things to say, and he's a guy that did it in the NBA playoffs. And he said, as a star, if I average 25 points per game in the regular season, that's got to go up to 30 in the playoffs. You're only going to go as far as your stars take you. And in the Raptors case, we've seen how far those stars can take them.
No wonder.
And so it's over.
No wonder
I'm down with Masai.
No wonder your mentions were just on fire today with this DeMar DeRozan slander. It's not slander. I'm happy for the guy. What he did was great. He's going to come back. He's going to come back and he's going to drop 55 on the Raptors every time he plays them.
On who? Kawhi Leonard or OG? Because that's not happening.
Now
we have a perimeter defense that actually plays defense.
Again, hopefully it won't be with Kawhi Leonard. Hopefully he's on the Lakers, and we've got Brandon Ingram and a couple first-round picks.
Hey, then it'll be on OG. I'm just saying, DeMar DeRozan, I know it sounds like slander, but we're talking about the difference between good and great.
Yes,
we're talking about the difference between
DeMar
star
DeRozan,
and superstar.
an all-NBA
and these are the levels.
An all-NBA player is a great player. This
For sure.
top 15 player in the league.
He was all-NBA second team last year.
That's top 10
he had the best
in the
season
league.
in his career. He had the best season in his career for sure. And then when it all mattered the most, he scored 8 points.
Sure, yeah.
Kawhi Leonard is a finals MVP, not against just anyone, against LeBron James, the same guy that gave the Raptors nightmares.
Completely agree. I completely agree. And I would do this. I would do this trade 10 out of 10 times. Absolutely. But to sit here and say that DeMar DeRozan was good, but he wasn't great, that is crazy. Regardless of this trade, DeMar DeRozan is the greatest Raptor of all time.
That's fine, but what does that mean?
That means he's...
In the grand scheme of things, what does that mean?
Best, there's 30 franchises in the NBA. That means he's one of the franchises... He is the franchise's best player throughout every metric. When it comes to the Toronto Raptors, they should build a fucking statue of DeMar DeRozan out front of the Air Canada Center or Scotiabank Center, whatever it is now.
Do you know what I find really funny? And it's interesting because to hear you now, to see some of the stuff floating around from some of the American media that's like, oh, DeMar DeRozan on the Spurs, this, that, and the third. I was having a conversation with my boy Timmy Haggs before I left work today.
Shout out to
Timmy Haggs. But the funniest thing he said to me, and it's so true, he's like, when DeMar DeRozan was on the Raptors, all we heard from all American media was, oh, Lowry and DeRozan aren't for real. Those guys will cower in the playoffs. They're not real, blah, blah, blah. But now all of a sudden, because you trade them to the Spurs, they're like, oh, well, the Spurs got a great deal. DeMar DeRozan's a great player. He's a top 10 guy in the NBA. It's like, what? When he was on the Raptors last year, y'all were telling me how the Raptors are going to fail in the playoffs because DeMar DeRozan's not that good, or he's not that level of good superstar. He's not on that top tier. But now, because he's not on the Raptors, we're going to flip the script? Nah, he's the same dude, and it's okay.
Yeah,
he's all right, but he's not real, man.
He's all right. He's an all-NBA player.
He's all right, but he's not real, man.
You're crazy out here. Crazy out here.
Yo, people listening to this podcast right now, let us know what you think. Flame me in the comments if you want.
I'll be there in the comments flaming you.
Do you agree with this deal that sent... Are you okay with trading DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard? Or are you upset? Because we got a lot of people here, right, that are talking about the fact that they're not necessarily mad about trading DeMar DeRozan. They're mad at what the Raptors got back, which is the 1 year of Kawhi Leonard of maybe he's not that happy to be here. He's already committed to leaving the Lakers. And so people are more upset that you're giving up your franchise's best player for just 1 year of
Now, again, don't get it twisted. I'm totally 100% for this trade. I think it was this...
Oh, you're not here for my DeMar, what you perceive as slander.
No, I'm just not here for the DeMar slander. And I think...
That's what I'm saying. You're not here for what you're perceiving as my DeMar slander. But I'm not slandering DeMar. I'm just saying we've seen this story already.
I think he's going to be great in San Antonio. I think it's a perfect fit for him.
I think he'll be okay too, and him and Rudy Gay can shoot all the long twos.
I think he's going to be better than okay. And I wouldn't be surprised if he did make the All-Star team in the West. I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, hey, stranger things have happened. Another thing we say all the time is I'll never bet against Pop. So, hey, Pop can get in his ear. Pop can give him the whole, hey, they gave up on you. They didn't think you had that extra level. DeMar's probably in the gym right now
with
shooting
the shot
jumpers,
doctor. I forget what his name is. The guy who teaches everybody how to shoot threes.
His boy Kobe's probably in his ear, gassing him up too, telling him, yo, they didn't want you. Like, I don't mean for this to come off as DeMar DeRozan slander. I really don't. I'm just trying to explain that there's levels to this between good and great. And we've seen the level that DeMar DeRozan was getting us to. And so, Raptor fans, here's the message. Here's what Masai Ujiri was telling you. And here's what I was trying to tell you from last year. This era of Raptors basketball is over. It was a great time. It was a good ride. It was the best ride in franchise history. But you know what? At a certain point, it's time to call it quits, man. And you got to get out while you can. And right now, hey, if you can get out and it's Kawhi Leonard signs next summer with the Raptors, great. If not, you clean your cap sheet.
Yeah.
You're in the luxury tax right now, so you avoid that. And you're going to be in the luxury tax when you know you can't beat the Sixers and Celtics anyways?
I think that this deal almost had more to do with the money than it did DeMar DeRozan's play.
I agree with you there.
I think that the 3 years left on the contract is something that they were looking to get out from under for a while. They've done that. I think that, I don't think it had anything to do with DeMar DeRozan's performance.
No, because DeMar DeRozan was a great soldier for your team. He was a great guy in the city. He did a lot of great things for the fan base. He did a lot of charity work. DeMar DeRozan was a great star and a great first real face of the franchise that wanted to stay. That's what I'm saying. I'm not slandering DeMar DeRozan. I'm just saying that the opinion of what we have for the Toronto Raptors, we want to take that to the next step. We want to build that into something better, something that's not just a gimmick that's relying on Drake to be on ESPN or relying on Drake to be, you know what I mean? Like, again, what did we talk about? Masai Ujiri's goal, even what Dwayne Casey was preaching this whole time. You're building a program, and you want to be able to build this program that, in spite of Kawhi Leonard or DeMar DeRozan, you know what? You're going to be okay. And that baseline that people have right now of saying, well, at least we know if we had DeMar, we're making the playoffs. They've already built that anyways. If DeMar DeRozan and Kawhi don't play on the Raptors next year, you remove both those guys, the Raptors are still going to be a playoff team. They'd be battling for 8th place in the East. You already have that. And their whole purpose was to build this baseline, build this foundation. And so you're not going to be just down rotten because DeMar DeRozan left your franchise or because Kyle Lowry gets hurt, which I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle Lowry gets hurt next year, right? But these are all things that Masai Ujiri has been working on and betting on his franchise. And to all the people that were like, oh, well, Masai, like, what is Masai doing? Like, you're thinking as a fan. You're not thinking as Masai Ujiri. Masai Ujiri is thinking about the organization that he's built. And because he's built it, he's going to be confident in what his sales pitch is going to be to Kawhi Leonard. That's what you want him to be. That's why you have him in that position. That's why he's out with Obama right now, chilling with Obama, making these big baller moves in trades. Look, Masai Ujiri is trying to put the Raptors on a different stage, on a different platform. And hey, DeMar DeRozan was very helpful in getting them to that place. So was Dwayne Casey. But we're talking about a culture reset. And if you're a Raptors fan and you are seriously agreed about the culture reset and agreed about trying to get to that next level, you should be in on this.
Agree.
I guess we should end this by just saying, shout out to DeMar DeRozan.
Yes.
Right? Because at the end of the day, yo, man, DeMar DeRozan put on for the city. He did really well. He was a great soldier. But, at the end of the day, Kawhi Leonard's just a better player, and you got to take that chance if you're the Toronto Raptors. That's my opinion.
Agree.
DeMar DeRozan did great, though, man. He had, I mean, off the top of my head, what is the greatest DeMar DeRozan moment? I don't know if I have one.
There's got to be game winners.
There's got to. Oh well, the dunk last year against Detroit, that was actually pretty. Big.
Yeah.
That was actually pretty big. That was a moment. That was a thing. Like DeMar DeRozan he's what you want. If you're building an organization and you draft a player, right, and he's a homegrown talent, in the sense that you drafted him and he had potential, but I think that he outplayed his potential. He became really, really good. He probably became better than anybody thought he would be at the time, right? You didn't think that they were drafting a multiple-time All-Star at the time. Nope. Like, he outplayed all that, and that's great. But at the end of the day, all good things come to an end. And DeMar DeRozan's career as a Raptor has come.
And we wish him well.
We do. I'll be rooting for the Spurs, right? I want to see DeMar DeRozan do well. One question for you, though. What do you do with Lowry now, Webby?
Well, try to find somebody to trade for him. But I think that, what does he have, 2 more years?
2 more years.
Yeah, I think that probably, honestly, a guy his age who's a little bit older than DeMar, right? He's like 32, 33. Mm-hmm. Honestly, man, if I were the Raptors, I'd probably keep him for those 2 years. Unless you can find somebody to take the remaining, whatever he has, $25 million, or what would it be, like $50 million for the last 2 years? If you can get somebody to
No, it averages, it's about 60 mil.
Okay, so 30 mil?
Yeah.
So
30 mil for the next 2 years.
That's pretty tough for a guy that age. Honestly, if I'm the Raptors, why not just roll with what you got?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously assume that Masai's going to sit down with Kyle Lowry, see where his head's at, and we know Lowry and DeRozan were really tight. And so the one thing I worry about is if Kyle Lowry is not happy that DeMar DeRozan is gone and whether he lets that linger.
So here,
and if you're Masai and you get any whiff of dissension because Kyle Lowry's upset that you traded DeMar DeRozan, you got to move him out. Even if it ends up being just a salary dump, I'm okay with you going forward with having Fred VanVleet and DeLon handle the point guard duties and Kyle Lowry basically being a salary dump. If that's what it ends up being, I'm okay with that. My thing is you can't have him sulking next year because he's mad DeMar DeRozan.
So I did read something interesting today was that I guess Kyle and Rudy Gay were really good friends. And Rudy Gay is like the godfather to his kid. And they traded Rudy Gay's ass out of here with the quickness, and Kyle never said word one. He does. True. He never kind of. I mean, he's a little petulant, but stuff like that, I don't see it bothering him too bad. I think if he was like 5-6 years younger, then maybe. But bro, he's 32, 33 now. Like I said, I'm sure that he's just going to be happy to get that money that he's got at the end of this deal.
And the other thing to remember, too, is Kyle Lowry was doing some flirting with the Sixers and Spurs, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Yeah.
He wanted to go to both those teams when he was a free agent. He just didn't get the same type of offer from those teams that he got from the Raptors. So the key thing here is it's a business. What LeBron James has showed us, what Paul George has showed us, what Kawhi Leonard has showed us, the players have the power here, right? And so we're going to continue to see this move jockeying back and forth, and it's all about leverage. Whoever has the leverage, they're going to win. So you got to look out for yourself at the end of the day.
That's right.
All I'm going to say is, to close this out, Webby, is in a couple weeks, there's a little thing going on in Toronto called OVO Fest.
Oh, boy.
And I hope that somehow, some way, Drake brings out both John Tavares and Kawhi Leonard on stage at OVO. But you know what? I'll settle for maybe Masai Ujiri and Kyle Dubas both yelling, "Scared money don't make none."
That would be fantastic.
Either way, it's hot up in the six right now, and hopefully it was hot up in this Ball on Blast podcast this week. No? Maybe?
Oh, wait. It got a little heated. You better believe it.
It did get a little heated, but that's what we like here. Webby, where can the people find you to hit you with some heated hot takes as well?
You know me. I'm just on Twitter tweeting about how the Dodgers stole Manny Machado out from under the Phillies. Oh, that was before we go, well, I just got to bring this up just so it's not completely this trade. Right now, you know me. I'm a big Sixers fan, and honestly, I'm really worried about the state of our team in the off season here. We've missed out on Paul George, LeBron James, and Kawhi Leonard, all publicly targets of this team. We've had our general manager resign from his post after an embarrassing Twitter. A burner Twitter account scandal with his wife. We have no general manager now. We tried to hire Daryl Morey, I guess, and that didn't work out. We still have no general manager. We're kind of wrapping up Summer League. We still have no general manager. I'm really worried that the Sixers are bound to take a big step back here.
Ooh.
I'm really worried. I like the J.J. Redick signing. We did sign a guy, Belitza, from the T-Bulls. He won't even play. He's going back to Europe. And did I mention that the team still doesn't have a general manager?
Well, yeah. Interesting times in Sixers land.
That was my quick Sixers rant. Rant.
Luckily we're here for the Raptors, and the Raptors are doing work. And Ryan Harris, who I think is someone you'll remember from
of course,
our score days.
The old cameraman.
Yes, I will read this one comment because this really, really made me laugh. But he wrote on the Book of Faces, quote, "I will personally drive Kawhi to Eglinton and Oakwood to get his prison braids redone every other day." If you're from Toronto, you will appreciate that quote so much because it's so amazing on so many levels. Social media was a great place to be. There's so many great reactions and funny reactions, and the one that really made me laugh was about how all these people mad about getting Kawhi Leonard. If the season starts and Kawhi Leonard is on the Raptors, in the wise words of Jesus Amaro, keep that same energy that you have right now. I don't want to hear people jumping on board. All these people, because Raptors fans are split. They did the poll on Tim and Sid today. I saw it. It was barely it was 51-49. I think that's what it was. It was split between, do you like this trade? If you watch Kawhi Leonard play on the Raptors this year, keep that same energy. That's all I'm going to say. Remember what you're thinking right now. And then when you watch Kawhi Leonard in the Raptors uniform, keep that same energy. On the flip side, another challenge to Raptors fans. And a reminder, Webby, this is what I'll say in closing, man. It is on you, Raptors fans, for the next year to do everything that you can to make Kawhi Leonard know that Toronto is one of the dopest cities in the world.
Great point.
So that means when Kawhi Leonard lands in Toronto,
be there.
Fans should be at the fucking airport. When Kawhi Leonard shows up for his press conference at Scotiabank Arena or Scotiabank Place, whatever they're calling it right now, fans should be there. There's no school anymore, kids. You can be down there. You're not skipping school. You're not doing anything. Show this man love. Remember all those videos of Oklahoma City when Paul George was showing up on the plane? There are people waiting there for him. This is up to the fan base. This is up to Drake to campaign, to champagne and campaign and show Kawhi the city of what we really have to offer. Caravan is coming up. OVO is coming up. Again, Toronto, this is on you. We have a lovely city. We have an amazing city. We need to show this guy that this is one of the dopest places in the world. We have the dopest fans in the world. And once he's here, if we show out, hey, bet on that. And if he doesn't want to stay after putting in work and being loved by the fans, we don't want you anyways. It's like Johnny T, man.
Absolutely.
If Johnny T turned down the Leafs and knowing how dope the city is, we don't want you anyways. Yep. But you know what? Johnny T came. And the wave is here, Webby.
The wave of superstars in Toronto is here. That's what I like.
Let's go. The wave of superstars also here on the Ball on Blast podcast. Webby, for you, I am Sheldon Alexander. You can find me on Twitter at Shell Alexander, on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander, and shout out to all the people following and watching the video right now on YouTube. Shout out to our YouTube viewers as that continues to grow each and every week as well.
Shout out to the fans.
Shout out to you, the fans.
Shout out to the fans who are hailing you down in Starbucks.
So I messaged Webby about this yesterday. Yesterday I'm leaving work and I was going to a meeting and I'm rushing out of work. I'm like flustered. The sun is blazing. My head's down. I have headphones on. Some dude leaned over the rail and hailed me down and he's like, yo, man, you got a sec? I take my headphones off and he's like, yo, man, I just want to tell you, I really love your podcast.
And you were like, and I'm like, yeah, you killed it. It's awesome. This is what you should have.
No. I was actually stunned. And what I was doing was I was looking around for one of my friends thinking that they're playing a joke on me. Because it was just too random, right? I was like, wait, what? And he's like, nah, man, like I got into the podcast during the playoffs. And when you're doing the post-game shows, I love how you guys were just talking about you're holding the players accountable for not playing well. And he's like, I've been hooked ever since. I just wanted to, he's like, sorry, I don't mean to bother you or anything. I just want to tell you I love the podcast. I'm like, I apologize for my reaction right now. I'm just stunned because this didn't seem like real life. And I was also on my way to a meeting about the podcast. So everything was just like weird in that moment.
That's crazy.
That I couldn't believe what was going down. But I was like, I had to shout him out. I'm like, yo, what's your name? He told me his name's Brian. So shout out to Brian. I'm going to shout you out on the podcast 100%. For sure.
If you grab
for hailing me down.
If you grab us on the street, we will say your name on the podcast 100%.
1,000%. Yeah. If you want to be on the podcast, hail me on the streets. If you see me strolling the streets of Toronto.
If you see me in London, Ontario, just grab me and be like, yo, I love the podcast.
We'll always talk ball. And it's funny, too, that it happened the day before the Kawhi trade because, hey, I would have posted up with dude and talked about the Kawhi Leonard deal.
That's right? What we do. We love to talk about ball. That's why we come here every week, right, Chel?
Exactly. Ball on Blast podcast, as always, unpolished and unapologetic. Until next time, share the podcast whenever you can. Like it, subscribe to it, rate
Give us
it,
5 stars,
all that fun stuff. As I say in the tweets all the time, hashtag tell your friends. We are the Ball on Blast podcast. See ya.
Peace.
This is Ball on Blast, part of the On Blast Podcast Network, available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube. If you like it, then subscribe and tell your friends. Holla.